thanks for checking out my video. This is a Vinyasa yoga class with a peak pose of Utthita Hasta Pandangusthasana, which sounds like a mouthful, but it stands for extended hand to foot or big toe pose. I love practicing with a peak pose of balance because you can't do anything else in balance other than focus on your balance. So it's really great for focusing the mind and working on that concentration. I love it as well because the pose that we're going to do has two sides, a standing leg and then an extended leg, and then you switch sides. And that really gives good information to your body and your mind as to the differences between each side and the roadblocks that might come up mentally on how you feel about balancing. So you don't need any props unless you have a strap that you would like to have if you can't reach your big toe. But the way that I like to teach is a couple different modifications so that you know the way to help yourself get to this peak pose. So I hope you enjoy. We'll begin in child's pose. So as you come to child's pose, you'll bring your big toes together, separate your knees nice and wide, and then walk the hips back to the heels and extend the arms out long. Now if the floor feels a little far away from you, you can always stack the hands and bring the forehead to the hands like a little pillow. We'll just begin to center our practice here, noticing how the belly drops in between the thighs. Plenty of room to breathe. And just notice the breath without changing anything just yet here. You can gently close the eyes. Wherever you are in your day, not thinking about what has already happened or what will come next, but giving yourself this time on your mat to be in your practice. Let's take a deep breath in, and then at the top, hold it, open the mouth and sigh it out. Again, just like that. Take a long, slow inhale, hold it at the top, and then open mouth, sigh it out. Good, we'll begin with our three-part breathing here, our Durga breath. And that's where we feel the belly, the ribs, and then the collarbones so that we can feel the entire container of the torso. And we watch the wave of the breath rise and fall. So as you exhale all the air out, draw the belly back towards the spine. And then as you inhale, feel the belly drop down towards the floor, your ribs spread out to your thighs, and then your heart lifts up towards your chin. And then as you exhale, your heart melts, your ribs draw back together, and the low belly draws back towards the spine. Again, inhale, feel the belly, ribs, collarbones, and then exhale, reverse. Again, inhale, and exhale. This time, thinking about sending the breath into the side body. Again, filling that container. So as you inhale, the side waist goes out to the thighs, the ribs spread out to the edges of your mat, and your armpits reach out to the sides. And then as you exhale, drop everything down. One more just like that, thinking about expanding out to your edges. And exhale, drawing in. And now bringing the breath into the back body. As you inhale, fill the space of the lower back, and then the back ribs, and then the space in between the shoulder blades. And exhale. One more just like that. Breathing in the entire circumference of your torso. And then exhale. Good. And your next inhale, bring the hands back by your knees. Draw the knees together and come up to Hero's Pose, Virasana. Take your left hand to the outside of your right thigh. The right arm reaches behind you and take a gentle twist here. Gaze turns maybe to look over that right shoulder. Hips stay square to the front edge of your mat. And then inhale, come back to center. Take the right hand to the outside of the left knee or the thigh. Bring the left hand behind you and a gentle twist here. If you'd like, as you inhale and exhale, you can begin to add the Ujjayi breathing, which is that slight constriction in the back of the throat that makes it sound like an ocean. So it's almost like you're fogging up a mirror, but you're doing it in and out through your nose. So as you inhale, come back to center. Place your hands behind you, fingertips facing towards your toes. And then as you inhale, lift the heart, lift the chest, draw the shoulder blades together on the back. Gaze looks up at the ceiling. One more breath in and out. As you inhale, come back up to center, walk the hands out and come into tabletop. So as you find your measure in tabletop, the wrists stack right underneath of the shoulders, the knees are right underneath of the hips, and take a peek back to make sure in between your thighs that you can't see your toes. So when we were in child's pose, we had our big toes together, and now we're trying to line the big toes up with our shins. So we've got one straight line from the knee to the shin to the ankle and through the toes. We'll take 3 rounds of cat-cow here. So as you inhale, drop the belly, lift the heart, and lift the tailbone. Think about dragging the wrist back towards the knees, even though they don't move. And then as you exhale, press the hands away from the knees, broaden through the shoulder blades. Arch the back for cat. 2 more, inhale, drop the belly, lift the heart. Think about dragging the wrist back so you can open through the collarbones. And then exhale, tucking tailbone and chin to broaden through the upper back. 1 more, inhale. And exhale. Good. As you inhale, come back to your neutral spine. Tuck the right toes and slide that right leg long behind you. So you're on the ball of that right foot. This is going to feel really good after just being in child's pose and hero's pose. And if you'd like, you can rock back and forth on the ball of that foot just to get a little stretch, reaching out through the heel. And then come back to stillness. You can stay right here. The belly draws up. So we had our cow pose and we had our cat pose. And we're looking for a neutral spine, meaning the belly draws up towards the back. And it's almost like you could lay a service tray on your back and it wouldn't fall either way. Using the belly, lift that right leg. If you have even more, you can tent the left fingertips. Maybe even reach that left arm forward. You can stay right here for spinal balance, working on this core strength. Or if you'd like, you'll take your left elbow and draw it back by the left ribs as you bring the right knee to the right elbow. Inhale, send it out long. Exhale, knee to elbow. Inhale, send it out long. 1 more, exhale, knee to elbow. And then inhale, send it long. Bring the left hand to the floor. Cross the right foot to the left side of the mat and take a peek over that left shoulder now, stretching out through the right ribs. Taking this right leg now all the way around back to the right side of your mat. And then sinking back for half child's pose. So as you sink back, allow the right toes to come up towards the ceiling. Okay, I'm here nearby the wall, so I don't have a ton of room, but you're trying to keep this right leg in line with the right hip and sinking the left hip back towards the left heel, so you get a nice stretch along the inside of this right thigh. And I will show you again on the left side. So if your forehead can't reach the floor, that's okay. You can have a soft bend in that right knee. Take 1 more breath in and out. And then as you inhale, come back up to table, drop the right knee in line with the left, and find your alignment here, back in table. Again, working on this neutral spine, pressing through the fingertip pads to lift the wrist, the crease of the wrist, away from the floor. So you're not dumping all that weight into the wrist joint. And then tuck the left toes, slide the left toes back behind you, straighten that left leg. And again, maybe find this pumping action here, just to stretch. And then come back to stillness. Ground down through that right shin, lift the left leg. If you'd like to move into spinal balance, you'll send that right arm forward. And you can hold here, working on your core strength, or draw that left elbow or left knee to left elbow as you bring the right elbow to the right ribs. Inhale, send it out long. Exhale, knee to elbow. Send it out long. Last one, knee to elbow. Send it out long, right hand to the floor, cross that left foot to the right side of your mat, and take a peek over that right shoulder to find those right toes. Now stretching out the left ribs. Then as you inhale, this left leg slides over to the left, coming onto the heel, pointing the toes up towards the ceiling, and sinking that right hip back towards the right heel. So again, big stretch along the inner thigh of this left leg. And if it's too hard to get the hip all the way down towards the heel, you can always stay up. We're really going for the groin stretch. Good, one more breath in and out. If you have the hip to the heel, go ahead and lift back up and draw that left knee in line with the right. Curl the toes, sit back onto the heels, bring your hands up, and just roll out the wrists for a second. One direction, then the other. Maybe interlace the hands, do the wave, and then reverse it. There's always one direction that's weird. Shake them out. Come back to your table, keep the toes tucked as you shift the hips back and lift the hips up for downward facing dog. So this is your first downward facing dog. It might be a short one, and that's okay. Bend the knee and sway the hips as you pedal the feet. And then come to stillness. Again, you're rooting down through the thumb and the first finger and all the fingertip pads, like you're pressing the floor away. You're trying to move your armpits away from the floor as you drop your heart towards towards your thighs, the back of your mat. Good. Walk the hands to the back of your mat, feet are about hips width distance apart, and take opposite elbows for ragdoll. Bend the knees as much as you need to, maybe sway from side to side. Come back to stillness. Release the hands, walk back out, and find your good measure now in downward facing dog. So maybe you walk the hands a little bit more forward. If you'd like to have the feet closer together and that feels good for you, big toes touching, awesome. If not, you can keep your feet about hips width distance apart. Slight bend in the knees. And the low belly, the bottom ribs want to splay out, but I want to see if you can find this containment. Draw the bottom ribs in as you reach the heart towards your thumbs. And then inhale, lift that right leg up, bend the knee and open the hip. Keeping the shoulders square, equal weight in both hands. Roll the ankle one direction and the other. Straighten the leg, close the hip. Draw the knee in towards the nose and step the right foot to the right thumb. Drop the back knee, untuck the back toes, bring the right hand to the right thigh, and sweep that left arm overhead. Take one more breath in. As you exhale, bring the left hand down underneath of that shoulder and the right arm reaches up towards the ceiling. Gentle twist here towards that right thigh. The right thigh is working towards midline, so you're not letting it fall open. You're working to keep it drawing in towards the ribs, and the ribs are turning towards that inner thigh. Take another breath in. As you exhale, that top hand comes down. Walk that right foot forward just a little bit, and then sink the hips for half Hanumanasana, Ardha Hanumanasana, half split pose. Good, right toes point up towards the ceiling. Take a breath in. As you exhale, bring that foot to the floor, sweep the arms overhead for a low lunge. One breath in. And then release the hands, step back to high plank, lower down knees, chest and chin. Untuck the toes, snake through to cobra, Bhujangasana. And then tuck the toes, lift the hips, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift the left leg. Bend the knee, open the hip. So you're trying to stack the hips. Roll the ankle one direction, and then the other. Straighten the leg. Close the hips. Draw the knee in towards the nose, left, stepping the foot to the left thumb. Drop the back knee, untuck the back toes, left hand to left thigh, sweep the right arm overhead. So again, this left hip is drawing back, right hip is drawing forward, heart reaches up. You're still finding this containment of the bottom ribs drawing towards the top of those hip points. As you exhale, right hand to the floor, left arm reaches up towards the ceiling. More support, you can keep this hand on the top of the thigh. Gaze can also stay down at that lowered hand or up to the left thumb. One more breath in. As you exhale, top hand comes down, left toes scoop forward as you shift the hips back, coming into half split pose. So you're working the toes back towards your shin, so the foot's flexed. Come back to your low lunge, sweep the arms overhead. Finding buoyancy in the hips here. Don't just sink into the joints. Find the scissoring action of drawing the left leg back, right hip forward. One more breath in. Exhale, release the hands, step back to high plank, lower down knees, chest and chin. Snaking through, lowering the hips, cobra. Release, tuck the toes, downward facing dog. Walk the hands back to the feet, keeping your feet about hips width distance apart, then walk the fingertips over towards 3 o'clock, the right side of your mat. You can even bend this right knee a little bit so the left leg is straight. We're going for a stretch on the IT band. Inhale, come back to center, straighten both legs, and then walk the hands over towards 9 o'clock, the left side of your mat. Again, maybe a slight bend in the left knee as the right leg stays super straight. Finding that nice IT band stretch on the right side. And inhale, come back to center. Walk yourself back out, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift the right leg, bend the knee, open the hip again. This time, if you like, circle the knee. 3 in one direction, 3 in the other. Straighten the leg. Close the hip, step the right foot to the right thumb. Drop the back knee, sweep the arms overhead. One breath in your lunge. And then as you exhale, fingertips to the floor, shift the hips back, find your half split. You might have to toe heel your foot forward a little bit. So it's not sitting back on the heel, we're still keeping that left hip stacked on top of that left knee. And then come to either the left fingertips or the left hand. You might have to take it a little bit closer to the left edge of your mat. So you can find a twist now with a straight leg. So you're working this right hip away from the right armpit. If this is too much to have the top arm lifted, bring it to your right hip. This should feel like a big stretch. Keep the right foot flexed. Take one more breath in. And as you exhale, the right hand comes down. Flatten the right foot, coming back into your lunge. Tuck the back toes, step back, high plank. Lowering down, again, knees, chest, and chin, or if you feel ready, coming to the toes for chaturanga. Inhaling to your upward facing dog, and then exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift the left leg. Bend the knee, open the hip. Maybe hip circles here with the knee in one direction and then the other. Straighten the leg, close the hip, step through. Drop the back knee, untuck the toes and sweep the arms overhead. Take a breath in. As you exhale, fingertips to the floor, find your half split. Coming to the right fingertips or the right palm, lift the left arm up towards the ceiling. So again, this left hip probably wants to pop out. You're moving it away from the left shoulder. And you're trying to drag that left sit bone back to that right heel. If this is too much to have the hand lifted, bring it to your hip. This also might be balance challenging. Good, so take another breath in. And then hands to the floor, back to your lunge, and step it back to high plank. Moving through a vinyasa, finding a back bend of your choice, and then exhale, downward facing dog. 3 breaths here. Maybe reconnecting with that oceanic breath. One more. As you inhale, lift that right leg. Exhale, step it to the right thumb. This time spin the back heel down and open up for Virabhadrasana 2. So right knee stacked on top of right shin. You're pressing through the pinky toe edge of that back foot like you could lift the left arch straight up towards the ceiling. Maybe bring your hands to your hips and notice where your hip points are. You don't want them to be too far forward or too tucked under or too far to the front or too far to the back. Sounds really easy, right? So when you bring your hands to your hips, this gives you good proprioception of where your hip, the bowl of your pelvis is in space. So see if you can lift this right hip point a little bit further away from that front right thigh and then reach the arms out. We're going to do a little bit of a flying warrior here, so warrior with movement. As you inhale, you'll flip the palms, straighten the legs, palms meet overhead. As you exhale, hands come to heart center, and then back into Virabhadrasana 2. Good, keep going like that, so we'll inhale. Exhale, hands to heart, and then press away. Inhale, gathering in what you need. As you exhale, bringing it to your heart, and then pressing away anything you don't want. Good, one more time, inhale. Gathering all that good energy, bringing it down to your heart, exhaling away. Good. Settle in here. And then straighten the front leg, flip the front palm in reverse. Inhale, come back to center. 5-pointed star, turn your right toes towards the left side of your mat, slightly pigeon-toed, so that the edges of your feet are parallel to the edges of your mat. Bring your hands to your hips, draw the elbows behind your back. Again, hands to the hips helps you find this good bowl of your pelvis so that it's neutral. So the tailbone is reaching down, the pubic bone and the belly are drawing up and in. And then as you exhale, you use the hands on the hips to help you tilt forward. About halfway, bring your hands down to the floor. Prasarita Padottanasana. And I'll give you a hint, is the wider your legs are, the easier this is. If your legs are really close together, it's going to be really hard if you have tight hamstrings to get down to the floor. So it might feel scary, but toe heel your feet nice and wide. And have softness in the knees, so you're not locking out into the joints. Bring a little bit more weight into the toes. Trust that your abdomen, your core, your brakes will stop you, and your hands will stop you if you start to fall forward. Reaching the crown of the head down towards the floor. It might not reach, and that's okay. That's just the direction it's pointing. And then as you inhale, lift up halfway. As you exhale, you'll walk your hands over towards the left, shift onto the ball of that right, or the heel of that right foot, and come into Skandasana. So we're not gonna stay here long, we're just gonna move. And then as you inhale, straighten that left leg, walk the fingertips over towards the right, sink into that left hip, and peel the right toes, the left toes up towards the ceiling. Good. One more time each side. Inhale, and then as you exhale, walk the hands to the left, right toes lift, straighten the leg, walk the hands over towards the right, left toes lift. Kind of like what we did in half child's pose at the very beginning of class. Inhale, come back up to center. Bring your hands to your hips, bend in the knees, and rise all the way up to standing. Turn your right toes back to the front of your mat. Sink back into Virabhadrasana 2, one breath in. And then as you exhale, windmill the hands. Step back to high plank, straight to downward facing dog. We're moving through a vinyasa. And meeting in downward facing dog. Inhale, lift the left leg. Exhale, bend the knee, open the hip. Hip circles again, straighten the leg. Step it through, Virabhadrasana 2. Windmill the arms open again, maybe bringing your hands to your pelvis, seeing where your hips are in space. Seeing if you can draw this left hip away from the front of that left thigh. And then reach the arms out, hugging muscle to bone. And when I say that, I mean, don't just let your arms be limp spaghetti, right? Think about the muscles actively hugging to the bone. Flip the palms, inhale, straighten the leg, arms meet overhead. Exhale, hands to heart, and then find Vira 2. Good, 2 more times, inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Good, inhale, straighten that front leg, flip the palm, and reverse triangle here. Inhale, come back to center. I'm gonna turn towards you, but you'll find wide-legged forward fold again. Only this time, the arms will come behind your back, interlacing the hands, drawing the knuckles down towards the floor. And if this doesn't work for you, doesn't feel good in your shoulders, then you can do the version that we just did. You can also take opposite elbows, or if you have a strap, you can take a strap in each hand. As you inhale, lift the heart. And then as you exhale, hinging at the hips, forward fold. Maybe you keep your hands close to your low back in the very beginning. Then maybe you see if you can lift your knuckles up towards the ceiling and allow the crown of the head to drop down even more towards the floor. Your quads have to be active here, so draw the kneecaps up towards the hips. This gives a signal to the hamstrings that it's okay to release. Softness in the knees, some weight in the toes. Great big shoulder stretch. On your next inhale, slight bend in the knees, lift up halfway, bringing the hands either to the hips or to the low back. And then release, fingertips to the floor. And again, you'll walk your hands over towards the left, sinking into that left knee. So, moving into a deeper Skandasana here. And if that didn't feel good, you can always stay up lifted here, reaching the right hip, or left hip back, left knee forward. Or if you have more, you're sinking that left booty towards the heel. My heel pops up. I don't have that length in my Achilles or my hamstring. And it's hard to sit back without dropping the booty and losing the shoulders. So, you're here. If you have a block and you need help sitting up, that's fine. Fingertips to the floor, right toes up towards the ceiling. If you like to work on a little balance here, bringing one thumb to the heart and then maybe the other. Good, just one more breath. If you had the hands lifted, release the fingertips back towards the floor. Stand through that left leg. Fingertips walk towards center. And now you'll sink the hips over towards the right. So you can stay right here, lifted, with that right booty moving towards the back of the mat, heart reaching forward, or maybe sinking the booty towards the heel, coming up more onto the ball of the foot, and rotating the left toes up towards the ceiling. So you might already notice a difference in between sides when you do poses like this. I definitely have more tightness in my left hip from a previous injury. Wherever you are breathing through it, if you'd like to work on some balance, one hand to the heart, maybe other one to meet it. One more breath in and out. Fingertips to the floor, straighten the legs, walk the hands back to center. Bend the knees, bring the hands to the hips, and rise all the way up to standing. Good. Left toes turn towards back the top of your mat. Sink back into Virabhadrasana 2, one breath in. And then exhale, windmill the hands, step back, meeting in downward facing dog or moving through a vinyasa. Inhale, and then exhale, downward facing dog. 3 breaths here. As you inhale, look forward, big step or maybe a hop to the top of your mat. As you inhale, lift up halfway, exhale, fold in, and then reverse swan dive, come all the way up to standing, palms touch overhead, and then exhale, hands come to heart center. So we are moving towards our peak pose. We're almost there, not yet. So what I want you to do is we'll bring your big toes together, separate your heels. As you inhale, sweep the arms up overhead. I'll turn towards you guys. And then you'll take your right hand down the right thigh, reach the left arm up and take a side bend. Inhale, come back to center. Left hand to the left thigh, side bend, hips go towards the right. Good. Inhale, come back up to center. Hands come to your heart. Okay. We are at our peak. So Utthita Hasta Pandangusthasana is an extended hand to big toe pose. We're going to get there a couple of different ways. So for the sake of me cueing you correctly, I'm not going to mirror you on this, just so that I make sure that I have the correct hand and foot. So we'll stand into your left leg first and draw your right knee in towards your belly. So you're at a 90 degrees here. And as you have it, I'm not leaning too far forward and I'm not cantilevering my shoulders back, right? When I try to do that, I immediately lose the strength in my left leg. So I'm trying to keep my hips stacked over my knee and my shoulders stacked over my hips, okay? So you can stay right here and work on this balance. Or you can take your left hand to your left hip and this right hand will help open that right knee out to the side. Now I want you to think, just like we did earlier, of moving that right hip away from the right shoulder. So the tendency is to want to hike it up, right? But we're trying to keep this pelvis neutral. You can stay right here, maybe bring the hand to the inside of the shin, right underneath of the knee. Maybe you try and bring it down a little lower onto the shin. Maybe to the ankle. Maybe peace fingers grab the big toe in between the big toe and the second toe, and you're looking for this finger lock here. You can stay right here. Maybe you begin to extend that heel out to the side. It's okay to keep this knee bent as you reach. Good, so the standing leg is really working hard. If you'd like to even challenge your balance more, you'll send that left arm out to the side. And even more is the gaze turns to look over that left hand. Whoa. Whew. And if you fall out, no big deal. See if you can come right back in. A little cue that helps me is to press the toe into the fingers of this extended leg. Take one more breath wherever you are, and then bend the knee and retrace your steps to come back to standing. Whew. Give everything a little wiggle and a shake. Maybe roll out or shake out the left leg. It's not an easy pose. Like I said, balance takes all of your focus, which is so good to work on. Now, stand into your right leg. Find this left knee, draw it into the chest, and find your balance here first. Now, what I didn't say before was you can always find a wall if you need a little bit more support. So, moving in stages, right hand to right hip. Left hand comes to the inside of this left knee and helps you open it like a door. Again, drawing that left hip away from that left armpit. Maybe bring it down midway to the shin. Maybe left hand to left ankle. Maybe you take the peace fingers in between the big toe and the second toe, wrapping the thumb onto those first two nails for a lock, and then extend that left leg out to the side. Pressing the toe into the fingers, rooting down through the standing right leg. Maybe reaching that right arm out to the side. If you fall out, come back in. Let's take 2 more breaths here. Good. And then slowly bending that knee, seeing if you can retrace your steps back to standing. Good. Give everything a little wiggle and a shake. Grab a drink of water. Okay. Our last pose standing is figure 4. So this time you'll stand on your left leg, draw your right knee in. It'll come out to the side, but then you're gonna cross that right ankle onto the top of the left thigh and sink the hips back like you're coming into chair pose. So this is gonna feel like a really nice stretch after we just did Utthita Hasta, which works those external hip rotators. This is a nice stretch. Maybe bringing hands to heart center. Also still works on balance. Maybe noticing the difference between one side and the other. And not having attachment to either, right? It is what it is. It'll be different today. It was different yesterday. It'll be different tomorrow. And that's okay. Good, one more breath in and out. As you inhale, rise back up, release, shake it out. Standing into your right leg, left knee up to hip height, open it out, and then cross that left ankle on top of that right thigh. Keeping the left foot flexed, sink the hips back like you're sitting in a chair pose. I'll show you from the side what it looks like. So it's almost like you're trying to lower your seat gently into a chair, very so softly, ever so softly. As you inhale, come back up to standing. Give everything a little wiggle and a shake. Walk yourself back to the top of your mat. Bring your big toes together. Inhale, shoulders up towards your ears. Exhale, back and down, and open the hands towards the front of your mat for Tadasana, mountain pose. And close the eyes. Take this moment here to maybe slow the heart rate. Return to your breath. Letting go of all the effort and work you just did without any judgment of how it went. Maybe reconnecting with the Ujjayi breath, that oceanic sound. Also such a good focal point and a gauge throughout your practice. If you start to lose the breath or hold the breath or notice you're breathing shallowly or fastly, or maybe too slow, or it's not even there, it's absent. These are all good indicators of where you are in your practice. Gently blink the eyes open. Inhale, sweep the arms up overhead, palms touch, gaze looks. As you exhale, hinge at the hips, forward fold. Inhale to lift up halfway. Exhale, plant the hands, step back to high plank. We're gonna lower all the way down onto our bellies for a count of 5. So coming onto your toes, you can either drop to the knees or keep the knees lifted. The eyes of the elbows rotate forward so that as you start to lower, the elbows graze the ribs for 4, 3, stay with me, 2, you got it, and 1. Drop the right ear to the mat, bring the arms by your sides, and just sway the hips from side to side. Good, come back to stillness. Lift the chin, lift the chest, and bring the elbows underneath of the shoulders, setting up for Sphinx pose, a back bend here. So walk that right leg back, left leg back. If there's any crunching in the low back, you can always separate the feet to the corners of your mat. If there's no crunching in the low back or no tenderness in the low back, you can keep your legs more parallel. The tailbone reaches down towards the heels, and notice that as you do that, your belly peels away from the mat in front of you. So your low belly, whether it actually happens or not, think about a flame or an ice cube being on the floor, and you're trying not to let your belly button touch it. And then this isometric movement of the elbows dragging back towards the hips, shoulder blades drawing together on the back like you're presenting your heart to the future. Open to the possibility of what may be coming down the pike for you. Thinking about what you would like to invite into your life. And having the courage and the open heart to do it. One more breath in. And then as you exhale, release, make a little pillow with the hands and bring the forehead to the floor. Release the effort in the legs by bringing the big toes together, allowing the heels to fall out to the side. And again, you can wiggle the hips from side to side or bend the knees and windshield wiper the legs. Come back to stillness. Realign your legs flat on the mat, pressing into the tops of the feet. You can repeat Sphinx if you'd like a little bit of a deeper back bend here. The arms are going to come down by your sides, palms face down, so the pinkies are in by your thighs and your thumbs are pointing out to the edges of your mat. Bring the big toes together. You're working to zip up your legs here. One long tail. And then as you inhale, press into the hands, shoulder blades draw together, lift the chest. Thinking more about length than height, okay? So you're reaching out through the crown of the head, the gaze is down the tip of the nose. You can stay right here or maybe lift the legs. Again, thinking about length and flying here, reaching the toes and the crown of the head in opposite directions. One more breath in, and then as you exhale, release, flip the palms up, opposite ear to the floor. Again, bend the knees and windshield wiper the legs from side to side. We've got one more here. Any options we've already done, such as Sphinx, keeping the hands or legs down in locust. If you're moving towards a different variation, and you'd like to interlace the hands behind the back, you're going to draw the shoulder blades away from the back. Thumbs point down towards the floor, and then you'll reach around to interlace the hands just like we did in our forward fold earlier. Draw the knuckles down towards the heels, and notice how that already draws your shoulders away from the floor. Lengthen the tailbone towards the heels, thinking about that flame underneath your belly. You're trying not to get burned. And then as you inhale, lifting the heart, lifting the legs and taking flight. If this is too much, you can always release the hands. You can keep the hands down or the legs down. This strengthens the low back, which is also part of the core. It's not just your abs that are important. These spinal muscles that hold us up all day, just as important as your six pack. One more breath in. Exhale, release. Make a pillow with the hands, opposite hand on top. And again, bend the knees and windshield wiper the legs from side to side. Good, come back to stillness. Release the legs long on the mat. Hands underneath your shoulders, tuck your toes, and come to table. So we just did a lot of back bending. And our counter pose to back bending is forward fold. So you'll walk your hips back towards your heels, shift the hips off to the left, and bring the legs out in front of you. Setting up for Paschimottanasana. If you have tight hamstrings, you can always keep the knees bent. If your hamstrings are a little bit more open, and you'll know this by if you start to sit with the legs straight and you have tight hamstrings, you'll immediately notice this rounding in the low back, okay? It's gonna be really hard to reach your toes with this roundness. So when you bend your knees, you can allow for the pelvis to be more neutral. We've been talking about that a lot today. The pelvis to sit up nice and tall so you're rooted down through your sit bones. And then from here, you'll lift the arms up overhead and hinge at the hips to forward fold. Then you can grab the calves, the ankles, the pinky toe edges of your feet. You can find this peace finger big toe lock again. And then the way to work towards straight hamstrings would be to gently begin to walk the feet forward, keeping the belly against the thighs. So thinking about it like a panini press, with your belly and your thighs being equal size of the panini, and the hip socket is where you're hinging. Good. Inhale, come back up to center. Bring the soles of the feet together. So we'll take more of a star stretch, more of a diamond shape with the legs. So Baddha Konasana is usually with the heels really close into the groin. I'll turn this way so you guys can see. Okay, the heels really close into the groin. I'm going to take the heels away so you have more of a diamond shape. You'll reach the arms up overhead, clasp the hands, and take Kali Mudra, almost like Charlie's Angel Mudra also. So thumbs are crossed, but pointer fingers are extended. So you inhale here, and then as you exhale, you'll hinge forward, and you're gonna slide your hands on top of your toes, on top of your feet, like a little hat. So you'll sit up tall here, and this time we will round forward. So we're gonna allow the chest to cave in, the chin to tuck towards the chest, and the shoulders to round forward, just like we do in cat pose. From here, maybe you use the pull of the hands on the feet to round forward even more. You're going to try and get your head nestled into your feet. And if it feels really far away, that is okay. If you have a block or something else you would like to rest the forehead on, that is okay too. If no block is available, you're just gonna find this forward fold, this rounding of the upper back. And then take one more breath in and out. And then as you inhale, roll back up to seated. Keep the left leg where it is and send the right leg long in front of you. You'll pull the heel a little bit closer into the groin, setting up for Janushirshasana. So left sole of the foot to the inside of the right thigh. Bring your right hand to the outside of your right hip. Reach the left arm up. And then as you forward fold, turn the thumb down and grab the pinky toe edge or the outside of your calf with this left hand. Okay. So you're taking this more into a twist. And then maybe you're laying your ear down towards your knee. My ear does not go anywhere close to that. But this is a really great stretch, and you can begin to walk these right fingertips towards the back of your mat and press into the floor to help you reach the torso forward and find even more of a twist here. And a forward fold. Inhale, come back up to center. Send the left leg out long. Bring the right sole of the foot in. Show you from the side so you can see what it looks like. Left fingertips the outside of the left hip. Right arm reaches up. As you fold forward, internal rotation, so the thumb points down. You're grabbing to the calf, the ankle, maybe the pinky toe edge of the foot. And you're finding this twist. You're using the leverage of the arm or the hand onto that foot to maybe lay this right ear down towards the left knee. Then maybe the left fingertips, walk a little bit further behind you, and you use the press of the hand to forward fold. Inhale, come back up to center. Good. Draw the knees in towards the chest. Give them a squeeze and round in. So drop the forehead down towards the tops of the knees. Maybe even nestling the eye sockets into the kneecaps. Gently come up to seated and find Sukhasana, easy pose. So if you like to sit on a block or a blanket or have the hips elevated or easy pose is not accessible to you, find a comfortable seated position. We're going to end practice with just a few rounds of pranayama, calming breath. It'll be an inhale for a count of 4, a hold for a count of 2, and then an exhale for a count of 4. So, once you find your comfortable seat, sit up nice and tall, root down through the sits bones, reach the crown of the head up towards the ceiling. Shoulder blades drop away from the ears as the eyes gently close. Exhale all of the air away. And then take a deep breath in, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold, exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold, exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 more rounds of breath, just like that on your own. After your last breath, exhale all the air out and return to your normal breathing. Noticing the effects of this practice on your body and the pranayama on your mind. Bring your internal gaze, your eyes to the space in between your eyebrows, your third eye, seat of your intuition. And bringing your hands gently to heart center, palms touching, thumbs pressing into your sternum, space just to the right of your heart, where it believes your truest self resides. gratitude for your body that allowed you to move in this way, and sending another wave of gratitude to anybody in your life that gifted you this time on your mat. Maybe a partner watching the kids, making dinner, homeschooling, walking the dog, so that you could have this quiet moment and this movement. And then sending it out into the universe, anybody who needs this gratitude or a little extra love in this time of COVID, where we can't be together and hug and touch and laugh the way we would like. I thank you all for sharing your time with me. No effort is wasted in this practice. Namaste.